I'm Greg Reed. I'm the CEO of HomeServeUK, which is a home assistance company that was founded in Walsall over 25 years ago. That is now has membership businesses in 5 countries, including the US, and owns companies in 16 different countries, I think is the total tally. In the UK, the business that I look after has 3,500 people. We do 1.5 million repairs a year, and we insure 2.2 million households. I don't think there was anything in my upbringing that would have clued anyone off to the fact that I would be a CEO of a home assistance company in Walsall in the United Kingdom at any point in my life. So I had a very, I think, normal upbringing. I had a good family around me. Everyone in my life was successful, but they hadn't done anything that's going to be written up in a history book or anything, but a really loving, caring family. And I would say that my journey to going to university and getting a doctorate and then going across an ocean and working for a couple of big companies, and then working very hard to sort of change the way those companies actually work, began with my family and the sort of confidence that they had in me, and that no matter what I sort of wanted to do, they figured out a way, like getting me off to university and paying for that. It wasn't a sort of you can or can't go. It was, if you want to go, we'll figure it out, and that's what they did. And then my grandmother, who was someone very special to me, is someone who constantly, no matter what the event was in life, sort of taught me the lesson that you need to go for it when the opportunity comes up, because it might not come up again. And so I've done that time and time again. And then I think when people look at that, they say things like, you've been lucky. And I do think that's true, because I've worked hard and I've been lucky. But in life, what my grandmother taught me was that you had to make your own luck, and that if you just kept putting yourself out there and trying again and again and again, eventually you'd be successful. And then that would look lucky to other people, but it was really just hard work and perseverance. I think there's lots of key moments in my career that helped me to get where I am today. And I don't think that I manage or lead, whichever word you want to use, the way that people typically do. And I try to form close enough relationships with the people who work for me so that I can know best sort of how to help them out. And I guess the best example I have of that in my career was when I was in marketing, and I was in a pretty good job in marketing, and it actually surprised myself by how far I'd gotten. And then I had my manager, who was running the UK business at the time, set me down, and we were having a one-to-one, and the first thing he said to me was, "What do you need so that you can be CEO?" And it was a shocking question, because I'd never considered that I could be CEO. And so I blurted out an answer that I hadn't really managed a big team before, that I'd only been in marketing and finance. And he said to me, if you had that, then would you think that you could be CEO? And really, I'd never really thought about it, and I basically told him I was flattered that he thought it, and he said, well, if you looked around the business, there were only a few people who could actually get there one day, and that if I worked hard and sort of got the things off of my list that worried me about becoming CEO, then I could do it. And I think the magical bit about that moment was that I would not be CEO now if he'd not said those words to me. And so I think as a manager, sometimes you need to put yourself out there and sort of ask people what they need. And if you see something in them that maybe they don't even see in themselves, to be brave and to go ahead and mention it, and to have the candor to just blurt it out like you did that day, and you might end up changing someone's life for the better. All leaders have similar characteristics and ways of doing things, but I think the way that I do things is a bit different, in that being an introvert, being an INFJ, if you guys want to look that up and figure out what that is, I really work hard at understanding why people do the things that they do, so that I can help them be better. And it's interesting, because normally people with that type of personality, they struggle to get into a role like mine, because there becomes a stage or a point where you cannot manage all those one-to-one relationships, and you've got to manage across a broader set of relationships. But I think what I've done, if you ask me, and you are, that makes me different, is I have still tried to maintain a lot of one-to-one relationships, and to eliminate hierarchy within the company, and to be open and transparent and accessible to people of all levels in the company. so that they understand exactly what we're trying to do and where we're trying to get, and more importantly, that they're all important and that they fit in there somewhere. So I think that's probably the bit of difference with me. I guess the other side is, in life it's good to win a genetic lottery, and so I'm very, very good at math and I'm analytical and I can do all those things that I think other people worry about. And because I don't have to, not work as hard, but because I don't have to worry about that stuff as much, I can just sort of free myself up to do the other things. Oftentimes the CMO on a board is seen as the lightweight. So they're seen as the person who doing a bit of creative, coloring some things in, making some ads, and this sort of real heavy lifting of running the business is done by the CFO and the CMO, or the COO. And I guess my route into marketing was a little different than other people's because I had worked in finance and been a finance director, so I had that background to me. And then when I got into marketing, I didn't just want to be the person doing the ads, and I felt really strongly that in order for the company to be successful, that there needed to be sort of an ethos and a sense of purpose flowing through the company, through all of the people who worked here, and that the customers would feel that, and then that would sort of be our advertising and our marketing. It wouldn't be clever campaigns, it would be a real live feeling that, in a service business that the customers get. And so I think that's probably the difference that I bring compared to other CMOs. And then recently, one of the nice developments that has been good for me and is good for all chief marketing officers is because of digital. In a lot of companies, the marketing area or the chief marketing officer has the responsibility for digital and the digital experience. And that's a bit different than the way technology worked in the past, where there were sort of big central projects that other people controlled. So I think maybe it's just the right time, and I would sort of envision that there probably are going to be lots more CMOs becoming CEOs in the coming years. When I joined HomeServe, they'd gotten themselves into some issues around what technically was called mis-selling and complaints handling. And I think the real gist of it was, on a couple of those items, they weren't trying to do the wrong things, but in a regulated financial services business, there's a certain way to do things and a certain way to not do things. So I was brought in as the guy who had the experience on how to do these things the right way, that the regulator would be happy, that the advertising standards agency would be happy, that trading standards would be happy with the way we would do things. And so we just really, it's a bit cliched, but we put the customer at the heart of everything we did. And we did that by actually empowering the staff to look after the customers and sort of making sure that they sort of got ahead of the game and they were sort of our eyes and ears with the customers. Because if the culture of the company had been right, the previous things wouldn't have happened, not because of some clever risk people or auditing or that type of stuff. That's all very important. Governance is important, or the board even. But the people in the business would have stopped it because they said it wasn't the right thing. And so that's what we did. We worked really hard to create a culture where over time, I don't have to worry about us doing the wrong thing, because the staff, there's 3,000 people trying to do the right thing constantly. And if someone does something that isn't right, they pick up on it with each other directly. I think it's interesting because HomeServe is a 25-year-old company, and a lot of people worry about the fact that our business is based on insurance, and insurance might be a bit of an old-fashioned product for the millennials and Generation Z. But the way I look at it, and the way my boss looks at it, which is handy now, is that we're just a subscription business. And subscription businesses like Spotify or Netflix are very popular now. People like this idea that they pay a bit for something, and then they take what they need, and what they don't need, they don't use. And so we are really excited to be embarking on this journey at a time when technology is making us more and more relevant, with the Internet of Things coming, and products that we have like LeakBot preventing issues for customers before they even know they have issues. It really gives us a chance to, instead of charging people for fixing things, actually preventing things from happening, and then showing customers that there's good value in that, and that's how we make our money. And you don't have to charge as much because the bad things never happened, so you don't have a big cleanup. You have a relatively small, in the case of LeakBot, fix of a leak. Instead of fixing a ceiling, you just fix a pipe before it gets to be bad. I would want my legacy just to be, and this is about everything that I do in life in general, that things are a little better because I was involved. And I think that's a difficult standard to hold yourself up to because it often means getting involved in things which aren't necessarily your issue or your problem or your responsibility. But once you get to be CEO, it's just almost everything is within the realm of things that you can make a little bit better. And that's what I want. I want people to go away and to think about the time when they worked with me and to think just like I think about my old boss Hugh and how he helped me. I would really love it if the people here at HomeServe thought, you know what, this place is a little better because he came here. And in fact, our millions of customers, their lives are a little better because he came here. And for me, that would just be a really exciting legacy to have.